The Harry Balls brand is back, and this time round they brought out the big guns. Yes, we are taking a look at the Kiwiears Quintet. The Quintet is special. I think this is the first time in the realm of chifi that a quad-bridge IEM has been offered. As with the rest of the Kiwiears brand, the Quintet is named after classical music where 5 musicians play in an ensemble, and according to some of my musician friends, they don't know if that they are playing music or just waiting to beat each other up. Unboxing the Quintet is a very familiar affair if you have unboxed a Kiwiears product before. Essentially, it is very similar, just that you have a larger box this time round. You get a grey box this time round with the Kiwiears logo on the front as well as the usual contour design. At the back of the box, no graph here, but no worries because you know on the Super Chunk show, you get your graph for those of you who want to get off on them. Removing the sleeve and black box and SpongeBob, you get to see the IEMs themselves alone in bikini bottom. Just below the IEMs is the standard Kiwiears case that you have seen before. Inside the case is a nice 2-pin to 3.5mm cable, and you also get 2 sets of ear tips as well to tweak tone somewhat. Pretty standard stuff, honestly. So comfort, these are really comfortable in my ears. They are very light and light enough for them to just disappear in my ears for hours on end. I do find that the isolation on the Quintet to be rather good as well. The cable provided here are easy to handle and not microphonic should you wear them as intended. Build quality. The Quintet has a custom universal shape. It is designed for most ears. It is also made of black resin that has a black piano finish, you don't say. They feel okay and should be able to hold up to the test of time. The faceplate is very understated, and I kinda like this as most IEM out there now are becoming overly fanciful, some to the point of being gaudy. It has a sandblasted anodized aluminum faceplate with the Kiwiears and Quintet embossed on each side. Very simple, very classy. Also, the sandblasted anodized aluminum is very underrated, which is a breath of fresh air in a world of psychedelic resins. The chassis is also rather light on the hand, and this will certainly aid in comfort. The chassis also features a 2-pin termination. Inside the chassis is where most of the magic happens for the Quintet. As I've mentioned earlier, the Quintet is a quad-bridge IEM. That is to say that it has basically 4 driver types in its chassis, and at heart of base lies a 10mm dynamic driver with a diamond light coating. Layering on top of that are 2 Knowles balance armature that handles mid-range and a micro planner that is used for treble. Lastly, the piezoelectric driver is also used as a super tweeter. So you're getting quite a bit of tech in this IEM. Cable used here is a nice dark grey 2-pin cable that is made from OFC silver plated copper. I found that microphonics on this is minimal. It is also terminated to a 3.5mm jack as well. Moving on to sound quality, so the Quintet is a very mild V shape compared to what we have seen in the market these days. They are what I would classify as a natural sounding rather than the more common natural warm sounding IEM. What you experience with the Quintet is class leading positioning and depth. When it comes to timbre, it manages to render them in a very interesting manner. This is due to the large mix of drivers used. At the low end, the DD adds very nice resonance to bass frequencies that has an airy aspect as the microplanner and piezoelectric driver adds airiness to the tone. This really makes it sound very realistic. Technically, I say that the Quintet is offering beyond what the competition is offering at this point of time. And also, I've graphed the Quintet for you guys, so have a look. Bass. On the Quintet, the sub-bass is the most prominent aspect and the rumbles are beyond satisfactory. It is quite amazing that you still get rather respectable bass at 30Hz. In terms of timbre, because the bass is handled by the DD, there is a very nice wave of airy resonance when the beat drops. Mid-bass here, as you can see, tapers off gradually, which allows punchy bass that never truly bloats. I like how articulate the mid-bass is, as it allows for bass runs to sound very lively. Just put on some Red Hot Chili Peppers and listen to Flea. They sound really good on this pair. Midrange on the Quintet is very sprightly and lively. It has a very neutral tonal weight here and does not lean warm, but I think that this is to the benefit of the overall very sprightly nature of the midrange. Instruments in the midrange is just so energetic here, so I was actually listening to Love Grows by Nobuo Uematsu at the Distant Worlds concert. The interplay of instruments between the melody from the pianos to the flutes and later to the oboes is just so harmonious and articulate. Separation between the voicing are also pristine. This level of finesse in sound is certainly helped by the good performance of the tweeter and super tweeter. Vocals again adopts this very neutral tonal weight and isn't all that warm, but this allows for a very detailed rendering of vocals. I like how females' vocals sound on the quintet. It is just also sweet. Might I add, I think that level of details here is also pretty fantastic, and even better if you feed the quintet through a decent DAP or dongle. Treble is pretty smooth with good detail overall. I found that on the whole the quintet is quite airy. You do get some radiance from the quintet, and I think that this helps with the other ranges such as mid-range to have a bit more separation. Your cymbals and crashes have a very nice shimmer to the tone. This shimmer dissipates with very good class and never overstays like a hobo. Soundstage, when it comes to width and height, they are honestly very good in both axes. They sound very big as if you are in a very nicely acoustically treated concert hall. When it comes to depth and positioning, I also do find that depth and positioning to be also really good. Positioning to me is excellent, as when I hear the higher pitched instrument when they do some runs, it tends to be very clear and very articulate, and you can really pinpoint where the sound is coming from. Depth too is also pretty stunning as the transients of bass is pretty fast, allowing you to have a very good perception of bass. And next we're going to talk about some comparisons. So there is one company that recently released a rather popular earphone, and that is the Tanchjim Kara. So firstly, let's compare it with the Tanchjim Kara. I must say that the Kara is a very different sounding IM from the quintet. The Kara is pretty warmish sounding, that is also V-shaped but with a bit more vocal forwardness. The Kara has a thicker tonal weight overall compared to the quintet. The quintet, on the other hand, is more neutral in terms of tonal weight and isn't as thick sounding as the Kara, but the quintet is also technically quite a bit better than the Kara. It just offers better transients compared to the slower Kara. Details are also more vivid on the quintet, especially in the mid-range, where the micro nuances are very obvious on the quintet but rather rounded on the Kara. The quintet also has better treble extension and an airy presentation, which the Kara can only dream of. But I do think that aesthetically, I really like how the Kara looks. There is just this very nice frosted plastic, and you can see the crossover that is inside. I think that is rather pretty. So we are going to versus another IM, and this time around will be the 7Hz Timeless AE. Now this is honestly a better of principle, a single planar versus 5-driver quad bridge. I think that these two are pretty similar yet different. I do like the Timeless because it just sounds pretty cohesive to me. That single planar doing from bass to treble, it feels more in sync with itself compared to the quintet. It also has a slightly thicker weight note compared to the quintet. But I think that the quintet also sounds a little bit more nimble compared to the Timeless. I also feel that the quintet has a little bit better positioning as well. But honestly, between the two of them, it is a real toss-up as they both sound equally good but in just different ways, so I cannot really decide which is better. Finally, in conclusion, I really think that the quintet is honestly a very stellar IEM and is very well suited for a lot of genres, but I think that they honestly shine in orchestral music. That is not to say that they cannot work for pop rock, they absolutely can. One thing that I like about them is because it just sounds so airy, it makes compressed rock music to sound a bit more spacious than the usual compressed sound that they usually come with, and that is what I really like about it. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's review so far, and if you like the review so far, please kindly press the like and subscribe button somewhere down below. I can never get that right. It will really help me out a bunch and will motivate me to do more videos. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon.